Welcome to Literary Libations with Librarians. And this week we are focusing on romance novels because August is Read a Romance Month. Now, if you're thinking we're going to be talking about traditional romances, there might be some of that, but I think you might be surprised at some of our picks as well. And as we are discussing our romance novels, if you want to get your hands on any of them, there are several different ways that you can do that. If you are looking for a physical copy of some sort, a hardcover, a paperback, maybe the audio on CD or large print, you can request those through our online catalog, and that website is listed on your screen right now. Or you are always welcome to call your local branch of the Monroe County Library System and speak to a librarian, and they will help you get your hands on a copy of one of these titles. Also, some of these titles, you'll see that they will appear on your screen as we talk about them, and you'll see that some of them are available on our digital platforms. If you see that it's available on Overdrive, that's referring to the Overdrive on the web, or it could be referring to Libby, which is Overdrive's app. And Overdrive offers ebooks and downloadable audiobooks. If you see Hoopla, that's referring to the Hoopla app, and they have ebooks, downloadable audiobooks, and also movies, music, and graphic novels. And if you see RB Digital, you can look for the RB Digital app in your store on your device. And RB Digital offers downloadable audios and also unlimited digital magazines, week-long passes to Acorn TV, and the great courses. And the great thing about Hoopla and RB Digital in particular is that if you see an item on those platforms, there is never a wait. You can get those onto your device immediately. And with us this week, we have 4 librarians from the Monroe County Library System. I'm Jennifer Graneski. I'm the community librarian at the Dundee Branch Library. And since we are talking about romance novels this week, I thought we would start with an introduction question about our bad romantic experiences. In particular, what is the worst date that you have ever had? And so mine was with somebody that I met online. Now this was 16, 17 years ago, so this was not Tinder. This was Match.com, which I feel is an easier form of online dating. I could not handle online dating now. So we had already met twice in person, at least. I can't remember if we met more than that. But then we decided to meet at a Mexican restaurant, and then afterwards we were going to go to his house for the first time and watch a movie. So we get to the restaurant, it's lovely, we're enjoying our meal, the bill comes, and he looks at me and goes, "I forgot my wallet." Great, that's just great. Because I'm pretty sure the other 2 times that we met, we each paid for our own meal, and he had said that he would pay this time, so it's okay, you know, I'll pay for both of us, it's not a problem. And he's like, "I'll pay back when we get back to my house." So we get to his house, and I don't remember exactly what happened because, again, I'm old and I forget things. But we get there, and I feel like he was missing his house key for some reason. He had his car key, but he didn't have the house key, so he was going to go to a neighbor and get the house key. And at this point, I was done. I'm like, "No, this was great, man. I think we're good. You know, I'll talk to you later." And that is my husband now. That was Mike. That was one of my first dates with Mike. And we've now been married for 16 years. So it all worked out. But if that had been our very first date, there would not have been a second. But since we had already known each other for a little while, it all turned out fine. But so that was definitely on the top where I'm like driving home going, I don't know, he doesn't seem like the same person that I met the other 2 times. And then he called and was super apologetic and super embarrassed that everything had gone so wrong. And I was like, all right, give him another try. And I'm glad I did. So that's my story. Also with us this week, we have Jen McCarty, who is a reference librarian at the Ellis Branch. And Jen, what was your worst date experience?
You know, I always struggle with these questions. I really don't have any super bad dates. I'm pretty fortunate in that I didn't date a whole lot when I was younger, and I met my husband when I was, fairly young. So I don't have a whole lot of dating experience, but the summer after I graduated from high school, I was in a play called Once Ado About Nothing, little Shakespeare action. And after one of the performances, we all went out to a local restaurant, and my boyfriend at the time was also in the play with me. And so most of the cast was older, you know, like we were on the younger end, you know, 17, 18. And so we go to a restaurant that was like a restaurant bar kind of thing, and most of the cast is older and they're drinking and they're having a good time. And my boyfriend proceeds to ignore me the entire night, like talking to the other people, trying to get people to buy him a margarita. It was a Mexican restaurant, and I'm like, Andy, stop it, you're stupid, you're my ride. So he ignores me the entire night. So I end up sitting next to a guy named Flash and talking to him all night. And we talked about movies and we talked about different things, and it was super fun. And twist, Jennifer, not unlike your story, several months later, I ran into him at the community college, and now I'm married to him. So another really bad kind of date that turned into something good. That was one of our first real connections. We sat and talked all night while my stupid boyfriend ignored me. And then when I ran into him several months later, it was like, oh, we already have this connection. And we started talking at, you know, in between classes at school. And eventually he was smart and asked me out. And 20 years later, here we are.
That is great. Now, did I hear that you say that you sat next to him and his name was Flash?
I did. That was, well, it still is, but that was his nickname. And it's funny because my kids just found this out and they're like, why do people call Dad Flash? And I said, because he's slow. It was an ironic nickname. He's a pokey puppy.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Jen. And we also have with us this week, we have Stephanie Winterstein, who is the Youth Services Librarian at the Ida and Petersburg branch libraries. And share with us your worst date experience, Stephanie.
I had to think about this for a little while. I think probably the one that I can talk about on camera anyway, is when a guy asked, I really had a crush on him, and he asked me to go golfing in high school, and I was so excited, and I told all my friends about it, and he came to pick me up, and he had a friend with him. And so it became the two of them rode around on the golf cart all day, and I rode around by myself. It apparently was not a date at all, even though he acted like it was in the beginning. So it was pretty miserable. But then at the end, he's like, hey, we should do this again sometime. No, we're not going to do this again sometime. So, you know, make sure it's a date before you assume it is, because it might not be at all.
Make sure to ask all the questions that you would think would it be necessary to ask, but maybe, is anybody else coming with us?
Right. I just assumed that we were good.
Good to know.
Yeah. That's like so hard when you're younger too. Like I feel like if any of us were dating now, we'd have a better handle on like, you know, setting the boundaries. But like when you're in high school age, like that's so hard. Like I actually remember going on what I'm quite certain was a date, but like 16-year-old me didn't know it was a date.
Right. Right.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. And we also have with us this week Ashley Lyford, who is the community librarian at the Summerfield Petersburg branch library. And Ashley, what was your worst date experience?
So I haven't dated a lot. Like I dated one person in high school for like 7 years, and then the next person I dated, I married. So I really struggled with this. And all the stories that I could tell just embarrass myself. But I'll go with one of those for your pleasure. I'm a very awkward person, especially dating. Like I have like my own little bubble. I don't like people to touch me. I'm just weird. So I went on like one date in between my ex-boyfriend and my now husband, and we were gonna watch a movie at his house. And he was my friend too, I should add. He was my friend. I was comfortable with him. Like I'd known him for years. It was fine. But and this was not even his fault. This date went bad by my own awkwardness. I'm just saying. So at some point, he decided he was going to try to kiss me, and I panicked. I was like, whew, I like jumped up and ran, right? I ran, sorry, that's my dog. I ran out the front door. I left my purse and I fell down 3 steps. So, that was a lot of fun. I'm just really awkward. I don't know why. I was shocked when he like tried to kiss me because hello, I was on a date. But yeah, I was like, I gotta go. I gotta leave. Never went back.
This is over.
Yep. I was done. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, good times, good times. But at least in the books that we read, now I can't guarantee this, but most romantic novels have some sort of a happy ending. So as we get into those, we can all think of our happy endings. And let's have Stephanie share first her 2 romance novels for this week.
Okay, so the first one that I'm going to talk about is The Friend Zone, and by Abby Jimenez, I think is how you say it. I could not put this book down. It was so good. And I don't know why. I feel like it was relatable because it was something that could happen. And it's not like one of those romances that are all like, fluffy and I don't know how to describe it, but it's about 2 people who meet and they can't be together because she has a boyfriend. Now they don't know, they both like each other, but they're not going to tell each other because obviously she has a boyfriend who's in the service overseas and she's going to be committed to him because he's coming home soon. And Josh, the male lead in the book, he likes her and he knows it, but he knows he just has to be her friend. So they form a friendship. They can laugh together. They're sarcastic with each other. So to me, I related because it was kind of like real life. I feel like it's sort of like my life. But once they develop feelings for each other and her boyfriend ends up, that's a whole little side note in this, but eventually they have to overcome some things to be together. And it's just the way that the story kind of comes together is just rewarding. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like you should ask some questions because now I'm sort of babbling through it.
Have you read other books by this author?
No, this was the first one I read, but like I said, I read it in a day and couldn't put it down. So yeah, I love it because so one of the things that made me happy is her job is to make little dog stairs for dogs, and she has like a 4-pound dog, so that just made me happy. And that's what her job is that she sells little dog stairs, which I don't know why that makes me smile. And one of the other fun things is that like whenever she starts to get hangry, he knows to feed her. And to me, like so that's important. The perfect guy. Like
that's important. That's real important.
Yes,
it really is.
Exactly. Exactly.
So many relationship conflicts I feel really could be avoided with a moment to stop and eat.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Like I either need a nap or I need food.
Yeah. Do we need a cookie? Because yes. Let's just pause.
Exactly.
And have a snack.
Exactly. And then another thing I found funny is that in the story, she's attracted to him, but she doesn't want to be. So every time he comes over to like help her build these dog stairs, she puts curlers in her hair and wears like her holiest pants, and a stained t-shirt. And I'm like, that feels like everyday life. Like, he still sees her beauty even when she's trying so hard not to be beautiful. So I appreciated that story. So that was my first one. Now the second one, it's been a little while since I read it, but it is Chloe Brown. Oh great, and I can't even think. Get a life, Chloe Brown. Thank you for putting the slide. But what I like about this story is Chloe is a she comes from a rich family. She lives in a mansion, and she's trying to break away from all that. And Red is like a handyman that she knows, and he's sort of like a bad boy. So they're from two totally different, lifestyles. But she has some health problems. Once she moves out of her mansion, she comes up with this list of all these things that she wants to accomplish. And one of those things is to do something bad. But she doesn't know how to be bad because she's very privileged, and that's just not her lifestyle. So she meets Red. They really don't like each other. Like, they can't stand each other. But obviously they form a bond, and they actually help each other both a lot, because they both have some deep down things they're dealing with that they don't realize, and they help bring out those things in each other. The other thing that it's also an interracial relationship, which is interesting how they deal with those things. It just, I don't know, it just has a very rewarding, happy ending. And it's a little bit steamy when you're reading it too. So if you're looking for that, but I really enjoyed it, and I may actually read it again now that, because like I said, it's been a while, but it was a really enjoyable book to read, and it's pretty witty too. So there's a lot of good little one-liners in it that I enjoyed. So
nice. Who doesn't enjoy some good romantic banter?
That's right, exactly.
And I also appreciate that she has to work hard on doing something that's bad. Like, I could see that being a struggle in my life. Like, on my bucket list, get arrested. And I'd be like, all right, I'm jaywalking, come and arrest me. Right. Like, I feel like that, no, I'm a law dog. If there's a rule, so I'm probably going to be abiding by it.
Right, exactly.
So I like that too.
It's okay to be a little bit,
Bending, I'm okay with. The actual just crushing and breaking, that I struggle with.
Right, exactly.
Yes, in school I was that kid who, the teacher leaves the room and says, all right, students, make sure to behave yourselves. I was the awful kid that when the teacher came back in the room, they'd be like, all right, Jenny, which ones weren't behaving? I'd be like, that one, and that one. Yeah, that was me. Me too. Yeah, the goody that they just. Yeah. Sorry, all my elementary friends that I ratted out. Listen, I people in authority, I deeply wanted them to like me, and I felt that was a way to do it. So sorry, I'm learning. I'm better. All right, thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks.
And let's have Ashley share next her romantic reads.
Okay, so I haven't read them in a while. Bear with me. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Selection series by Kira Cass. This is a young adult novel. Oh, hey, it's the first one on the slide too. Perfect. This is a young adult novel, and it's kind of like maybe Cinderella meets The Bachelor meets The Hunger Games, like, if that makes sense. It's a bit of a dystopian novel, but so basically the idea is that there's a prince, and from the town or from the world that they're in, they choose, I think, 30 girls from all of the different rankings. So I think they have like a 10 scale, and 10 is the wealthiest, 1 is, not. And one of the girls, the main character, is a 5. So she's one of the girls that goes. Her name's America, and she is not interested in this at all. But you have no choice. Like, you have to participate. She has somebody at home already that she loves, and she knows she's gonna like stay with forever. She wants nothing to do with this wealthy prince who, is dumb or something. But eventually they end up, like, he really likes her, and he's like, listen, I just need to know, do we have anything? Can I, what's the plan here? And she's uncertain, and, whatever. But eventually they, maybe it gets figured out, but it is a series. So I think like the next one maybe follows a different character in the book. It was really good, and I have to say, one of the reasons I even picked it up is because all of the books in this series have really pretty covers. They're all so pretty. I can't help myself. I like to choose books by covers.
I was just about to say, how did I miss this based on your description and that book cover?
Yeah,
all these gorgeous
Jennifer,
dresses
you totally love it.
and
It's
The
so good.
Bachelor.
Yeah,
I should be reading this.
Ashley,
I've
no.
not read
was
these.
No.
Totally what it is.
yep.
It's like Cinderella, The Bachelor with a little dystopian. Like it's good.
That's gonna have to go on my list.
Yeah,
How did I miss these?
Me
It's
too.
really
Yeah, you definitely need to check it out. I really loved that series. The other book I was going to talk about is, it's called First Grave on the Right by Dorinda Jones. This is also a series. I can't help myself. I like series. So this is more fantasy with a little bit of romance thrown in. Fantasy is really what I tend to read the most. And so this book is about Charlie Davidson. That's the main character, girl's name. And she actually is a Grim Reaper. So like from it as a child, she sees and can communicate with dead people. However, this book is hilarious. Charlie runs on coffee, chocolate, and wisecracks. Like that's it. So like each chapter starts with another, funny little 10-word thing. And just the whole book, like I actually would laugh out loud and I just enjoy it. I think, Jen, have you read this series? I think there are like maybe 15.
Yes, there are 13. I believe 13 was the last book. I've read 10. I haven't read the last couple of books.
You gotta read them all. They're so good. Yeah. But for the romance angle, the love aspect, there is a guy named Reyes, I think, Reyes maybe.
I think it's Reyes.
Okay, Reyes. And he is like your typical like bad boy. She knows like she shouldn't be involved with him, but she's very attracted to him and they get along. Like he likes her sarcastic sense of humor and that sort of thing. So it just kind of develops from there. If you like fantasy or supernatural more, I guess, you should definitely check it out. Even if you don't and you just want to read about a girl who loves chocolate and coffee and, likes to laugh, it's a really good series.
Thank you, Ashley.
They are super funny. I will agree with that.
And that leads us into Jen, sharing her romantic reads.
Okay, so my first book that I'm going to start with is called Agnes and the Hitman, and it's by Jennifer Cruzy and Bob something. When I see this slide comes up, I can get the next guy's name. Bob Mayer. I knew it started with an M. If you've read anything Jennifer Cruzy, this is very similar to her, kind of stuff. So this is one of those books that's like romance, but mystery, and it's funny. It's a little bit snarky. It's kind of hits a lot of boxes. So Agnes is a food writer. She's called Cranky Agnes, like they've described her as fiery. She's got a temper. She's engaged. Her and her fiance buy this big expensive house and they really can't afford it. Like they can afford it together, but things are strange. She's like, I know I can't afford this without this dude, so we'll deal. They are going to throw this huge wedding, and the wedding is going to be taking place on the grounds of this new house that they bought. And kind of all their hopes are pinned on this wedding. Well, of course, then things start to go wrong. There's like retired mob people in the town that Agnes is friends with. And then someone tries to kidnap her dog. And, why are people trying to kidnap her dog? What's up with that? So all of a sudden, this dude comes to town named Shane, and his job is to protect Agnes. Well, he's also supposed to be in town to also do a hit. Typical romance stuff. So Agnes and Shane, of course, are, don't hit it off at first, but then they do when sparks fly. And I really can't even I'm going all crazy here. The plot is crazy. It's zany. It's a little slapstick. I was reading some like good read reviews to try to, it's been a while since I read this particular book, so I was trying to like refresh myself. And I was kind of laughing at some of the reviews. Like there was one person that said, is it funny? Yes. Is it annoying sometimes? Yes. Would I recommend it? Yes. It's over the top. So like if that bothers you, you know, if you want realism, Agnes, you know, literally and a hitman, it might not be entirely your cup of tea. But it's got some steamy romance. It's got the mystery angle. What's up with the dog? You know, is Shane gonna commit this hit? There's all these crazy mob characters and you like them. So it's just fun. It's one of those books that's just fun to read, and it's funny and a little bit over the top at times, but it's enjoyable. So it's a, you know, it's a good time.
I really love that Jennifer Cruzy always includes a dog in her stories.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a dog person and it's my favorite. If everyone could just include a dog in their stories, that'd be great.
Well, Stephanie had one with the dog too.
Yeah. See? So good.
His name was Stuntman Mike, which is like an awesome name for a dog. Like,
the dog in this book's name is Rat.
Rat.
Which, and I also should know, it takes place in a southern town. So, and she bought this big, huge, I don't know if they ever say it's like a plantation, but that's kind of how I see it as, is an old, you know, southern, and the dog's name is Rat.
Rat.
Rat. Oh.
E-T-T or Rat,
Yeah.
R-A-T.
Oh.
No, Rat, like Red Bull.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said rat.
That's what I thought too. And so I'm picturing, you know, like this little tiny sad looking dog, but
No,
Rat.
Yeah, Rat, like a Red Bull there. So fancy. Yeah, but that's Agnes and the Hitman. It's a good time. So my second book, totally different area. Another one that hits a lot into the book. Like it's not just romance. It's Soulless by Gail Carriger, and this is a weird one to describe too because there's a lot of genres here. It's a Victorian, steampunk, supernatural, alternative reality. It's a lot. But so what this book does, and this is a series as well. I think there are 3 or 4, I don't remember. It's the Parasol Protectorate is the full like series title. It follows Alexia, who is born, you know, in Victorian England, but she has the misfortune of her dad's Italian, which is not cool, and he's also dead, also not cool. But she's also soulless. Or preternatural, which means in this alternative universe, there are all the supernatural creatures and they're just sort of out in society. So there's vampires and there's werewolves and, you know, who knows what else. And when Alexia is around them, if she touches them, she negates their supernatural powers. So basically she turns them human for a minute, as long as she's touching them. So the book starts with Alexia getting in a little bit of a tussle with a vampire and he ends up being killed. It wasn't, I mean, it was self-defense, whatever. But the queen then sends one of her investigators to figure out what happened here, and his name is Lord Macon, and he's Scottish, and he's a werewolf, and he's super hot. And to prim and proper Alexia, he's all of the wrong things because this is Victorian England, even with vampires and werewolves, and he is just a mess. But of course, she loves him anyway. And so there's like, if you like the Victorian, you know, the prim and properness, like that's in there, but then there's also a little bit of steaminess and there's the weird supernatural stuff. There's a couple other really great characters that get thrown in. There's a vampire who's super flamboyant that Alexia is friends with. All of the werewolves are entertaining. And of course, there's, you know, there's a little bit of a mystery, like what's going on. There's people, other supernatural creatures coming up missing. And of course, the number one suspect is the soulless Alexia, but she's, you know, didn't have anything to do with this. So of course, she wants to clear her name, and Lord Macon is there, and, you know, of course, they're butting heads and occasionally other things. So it really hits a lot of notes. It's a little bit funny. It's a very witty, but it's a super good book if you like sort of mix of a little bit of romance, a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of, you know, it's got the steampunk angle in there as well. It's really fun.
We read that for our book club like 10 years ago or something. And I'm not much of a Victorian era reader, like, or steampunk. These are not my genres. I don't like them. But this book really wrapped it all together really well. It was really well written.
And I got distracted while you were talking because you made the comment that, and there's werewolves and they're all entertaining. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, is there a boring werewolf out there? Like, are the werewolves like, you know, like, listen, you're just too dull to make it. Like, I feel like just being a werewolf gets you automatically to entertaining.
Well, I will say in this society, it's a little less fancy because they're a thing. You know, they're not secret.
Just everywhere. So there probably are some boring werewolves out there. Sorry about your luck, boring werewolf.
I'm trying to remember exactly. I know one of the werewolves is a professor, so I think he's a little stuffy.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, nice. Excellent. Thank you, Jen. And now I will talk about mine. And I will say that romance isn't normally my go-to genre, and yet anytime that I pick one up, I feel like I end up flying through it. There's just something about those characters that they create, and they're usually relatable, and you really want that happy ending. So I had to pull back on that and say, maybe I am a romance reader. And also, just to comment, you know, romance sometimes gets a bad rap, but I'm pretty sure, and I didn't go out and check my numbers, which I should have as a librarian, but I know for a long time, the romance genre was by far the best-selling genre in the United States. So it's popular, and I think it's popular because it's so relatable, and sometimes we do just want to escape and have a happy story. Anyhow, the two that I chose, the first one is These Is My Words by Nancy Turner. And this is historical, and I would say that it leans more historical than romance. So if you're kind of, you know, you're on the edge and you're like, I don't know that I want a romance, pick this book up. It is such a good read. So Sarah Prine is 16 in 1881, and she is trying to figure life out after her mother has passed away. And so there is some property that she's pretty sure belongs to her family out in the Arizona territories. And so she is going to head out there to claim that property and to work it with some of her siblings. And this story focuses on her journey to the Arizona territories and then focuses on her time on that land. And it is, if you liked Little House on the Prairie books as a child, you need to pick this book up. It is so good. When we did this for a book club, it's probably been, it's always longer than I think it is, but I would say it's been at least 5 years. And I have to say, you know, every year we choose our books as a group, and there's always books on there where I'm like, I'll read it. And this was one of those that I was kind of like, okay. And I was just blown away. There's adventure, there's tragedy, and there is romance, but it's not immediate because, as often in these books, Sarah meets a cavalry officer, Captain Jack Elliott. And of course, they meet in circumstances where she is not doing something that she should be, or she's doing something she shouldn't be doing. And so he's coming, and then, you know, they don't get along. She's very independent. She's clearly survived on her own. And then he comes in and he wants to help, but as is often the case, helping turns into do it my way. And she's having none of that. And so, you know, again, there's that conflict there. And then over time, they learn the truth about each other, and he begins to understand how to support her rather than control. And she begins to understand that he does have a good heart, and he's willing to say, I did this wrong. What about this? And he learns to respect her for who she is. And I can't say enough about this, that it's in my review that I wrote immediately after reading it on Goodreads. I said that it is heart-poundingly exciting. So there, if you want a historical novel that's going to keep you turning the pages or keep you listening, because I did listen to this one and the narrator is fabulous. pick up These As My Words, The Diary of Sarah Agnes Prine, 1881 to 1901. It really, two thumbs up from me. It's an excellent book. It's also one of my go-tos if somebody comes into the library and they're just, I just want a good book. This is the one I go to because I really feel that this has appeal to men and women, and that it's just a good old-fashioned read. So These Is My Words. The other one that I chose is The Fortune Hunter by Daisy Goodwin. And when I read this one, I was either very much in the depths of my Downton Abbey obsession, or I was getting over it because the TV series had ended and I wanted something like Downton Abbey. And I'm pretty sure this showed up on a list that said, if you like Downton Abbey, you'll like these books. And it's true. If you like Downton Abbey, I think you're going to love The Fortune Hunter. The Fortune Hunter actually focuses on a real historical person, and it is Cece, which is actually her nickname. And she is the Empress of Austria in 1875. She married Franz Joseph when she was just 16. And in the novel, which again is fiction, so she existed, Franz Joseph existed, but what the actual relationship with is fictionalized. So in the novel, she finds him very dull. She finds life at the court very stultifying. You have to do this, and then you have to do this, and then you have to speak to this person, and then you have to make sure that Dame so-and-so is happy. And she's really tired of that. And she loves horse riding, and she loves fox hunting on horseback. And so she travels to England for a break from the court and to go and do more of this hunting and to learn from some of the best that are in this sport. Well, she gets there, and the person who's there to work with her is Captain Bay Middleton. And of course, there are sparks immediately. Of course, there's conflict, but there are sparks. But he is actually also engaged as well to a woman in England. Her name is Charlotte. And if he were to pursue the Empress, there's no way they're going to get married. Cece is not going to divorce the Emperor of Austria. So if he chooses her, he would basically be giving up everything for her. And that's kind of where the novel follows, is what choice is he going to make? And she struggles with, could she let him make that choice? Because it would be the end of what he has if people knew that they were having an affair. So it's really good. You get a lot of history. There's a lot of other real historical characters besides Cece the Empress. Queen Victoria makes an appearance. And apparently the person, and it's been a long time since I've read this one. I assume at some point I went and looked. Captain Bay Middleton is another real historical character. I do not remember whether there is any actual historical evidence that he and the Empress had an affair. That you would need to go out and do some reading and read a nonfiction book, because I don't remember that. But he is a real historical character. She has an interest in early photography as well. And so you learn about early photography, you learn about fox hunting, which is crazy and disturbing. So it's really interesting. Again, there's a lot of history in there. If you're a Downton Abbey fan who kind of likes that upstairs, downstairs romance, this has it in spades. So if that's your thing, pick it up. All right. And I think that's all of us for this week. And those are our romantic reads. I hope while you were listening that there was something in there that you thought, I might pick that one up. And next time we are going to be talking about books that you can read in a day, or maybe a weekend if you want to slow down and take your time. So we are going to be talking about those quick read books next time. And thank you to all of you for sharing your romantic reads. Thank you to those of you who listened, and we'll see you next time. Bye.